As the movie begins, we are introduced to two central characters, Stig and Bobby. They arrive in an indistinctive town where their actions immediately arouse curiosity. Stig chooses to take a seat in a local diner. Across the street, Bobby enters a bank with a specific purpose in mind. He wants to purchase a safety deposit box. After handling his business at the bank, Bobby joins Stig at the diner. Here, Bobby encourages Stig to create a minor diversion. Soon after, Stig abruptly rises from his seat and sets the diner on fire. Just when we're trying to process this unexpected development, the narrative rewinds itself to weeks prior. Now, we find Stig and Bobby basking in the golden landscapes of Mexico. Bobby has plans to meet up with his friend Toro. However, upon arrival, he's greeted with a gruesome sight: Toro's decapitated head, neatly packed in a bag. The story then leads us to Poppy, a notorious drug lord who commands both fear and respect. Bobby has a meeting with Poppy where he offers him fake passports. In exchange, Poppy hands over a stack of cash, much to Bobby's disappointment. Bobby reveals that he was expecting to receive drugs as part of the deal, but Poppy refuses. He has grown suspicious of Bobby, especially after discovering Toro's betrayal, which led to his execution. Distrustful, Poppy isn't willing to enter into any drug-related transactions with Bobby. Bobby gives back the money and leaves the passports with Poppy, telling him to get in touch when he's open to making a drug deal. After a while, Stig and Bobby reunite and make their way back to the United States. Along the journey, Stig suggests robbing the bank where Poppy stashes his money. Bobby, however, isn't enthusiastic about the idea. As they reach the US-Mexico border, their plan hits a snag. They're apprehended by law enforcement officers and separated for questioning, setting the stage for what promises to be an action-packed and suspenseful continuation of events. In a surprising twist, it's revealed that Bobby isn't just another criminal, he's actually an undercover DEA agent. He contacts his boss, Jessup, to update him on the situation. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the drugs needed to bring down the drug lord Poppy. In a different room, another agent named Deb is attempting to interrogate Stig. Ever the charmer, Stig tries to flirt his way out of the situation, pretending he knows nothing. Eventually, Deb leaves Stig to join Jessup in his conversation with Bobby. Jessup is concerned about Bobby's safety, but Bobby isn't willing to walk away now. He's invested 3 years of his life undercover, getting close to Poppy. Deb sides with Bobby, and Jessup eventually agrees to give him 2 more weeks to complete the mission. The narrative then shifts to a more intimate setting, a motel room where Bobby and Deb are lying in bed. Bobby reveals that Stig plans to rob a bank and Bobby intends to help him. The bank is where Poppy keeps his money stashed in a safety deposit box. By robbing the bank, they can trace the money back to Poppy and charge him with money laundering and tax evasion. Bobby suggests that Deb can arrest Stig at the scene of the crime, ensuring that Stig goes to jail for a long time, and she even gets to look like a hero. Deb eventually agrees to the plan. The next day, Bobby goes to Stig's place to let him know that he's on board with the bank robbery plan. To gather more information, the duo head over to Poppy's house to spy on him, setting the stage for what promises to be an unfolding tale of intrigue, betrayal, and action. Every 2 weeks, Poppy flies from Mexico to the United States carrying a briefcase filled with cash. He spends a week in America with his mistress and child before heading back to Mexico. Bobby and Stig spy on him and see a man taking the briefcase from Poppy's residence. They follow him as he drives straight to the bank, presumably to deposit the cash. This leads us back to an earlier scene in the movie. Bobby suggests to Stig that he should hang out in the diner across the street from the bank. Why? Because it's risky to rob a bank that's close to a diner selling donuts, which attracts police officers. Bobby then goes to the bank to open a safety deposit box while Stig sits in the diner. They carry out their plan, setting the diner on fire, as we've seen before. Later, Bobby meets up with Deb again and informs her that Stig plans to rob the bank the very next day. Whether Bobby is involved or not, Deb should be prepared to arrest them. After leaving the motel, the story shifts to Stig, who meets up with Naval Officer Quince. As it turns out, Stig isn't just some random criminal, he's an undercover Navy SEAL. Quince provides him with supplies for the bank robbery, revealing that Stig is also on a mission to take down Poppy. The twist? Quince instructs Stig to kill Bobby and take the money for hidden Navy operations. The day of the bank robbery arrives, and things go surprisingly smoothly. Stig and Bobby manage to lock the police in their own station before heading to the bank. But when they get inside, they discover far more money than they were expecting. As they load up the car with the cash, Bobby keeps an eye on the time, waiting for Deb to show up and arrest them. But she never does. Confused and concerned, they drive to a deserted area to discuss their next moves. Just as Bobby is about to pull a gun on Stig, Stig beats him to it, shooting Bobby in the arm. In that moment, Stig also discovers Bobby's DEA badge. Stig then drives off, leaving Bobby behind as he takes off with the money. The complexities of their undercover lives have collided. The story takes another turn as we're introduced to Earl, a man who starts investigating the bank in connection to the robbery. When he sees the burned-down diner across the street, he doesn't simply shrug it off as a mere coincidence. He senses something is off. Meanwhile, Stig takes all the stolen money to Quince, who isn't surprised by the much larger amount they've acquired. When Stig asks about Bobby, Quince dodges the question. Instead, he orders the money to be sent to a naval base. Stig finally admits to Quince that he didn't kill Bobby, so the two set out to find him. Bobby, on the other hand, is trying to hitch a ride. He's stopped by two men claiming to be border security officers. Not in the mood for questioning, Bobby draws his gun and takes their vehicle. As for Stig, he's starting to realize that Quince has ulterior motives. Deciding he can't trust him, Stig fights off the Navy men and escapes, worried for his own safety. Elsewhere, Bobby manages to find a veterinarian to treat his gunshot wound. After getting patched up, he meets Deb in a hotel room. He confronts her about not showing up as planned at the bank. She claims she did, but he left early. They then part ways. Determined to catch Stig, Bobby breaks into his place to look for clues. Little does he know, Stig has a sniper aimed at his house. Just as the two are trying to communicate, naval officers arrive and attack. But Bobby and Stig skillfully evade capture. We catch up with Earl once more, who is now questioning the vet that treated Bobby's wound. Bobby then goes to Jessup's house seeking help, only to find Earl already there. Earl attacks Bobby, demanding to know where his money is. Bobby plays dumb, so Earl shoots Jessup with a gun that has Bobby's fingerprints, complicating matters even more. The next morning, Bobby drives up to Poppy's house and draws a gun on him. But just as he's about to make his move, Stig shows up. Taking the lead, Stig forces Poppy into his own car and speeds away, with Bobby in hot pursuit. Eventually, this high-stakes chase leads to a showdown between Bobby and Stig, right in the middle of the desert. The lines between friend and foe continue to blur, setting the premise for an intense and unpredictable climax. In a moment of pause, Bobby and Stig finally drop their guards and introduce themselves formally to each other. They make the decision to team up and take Poppy to Deb's garage for questioning. Here, Poppy reveals a startling truth: the money they stole was actually CIA funds. It turns out Earl is a Black Ops operative overseeing Poppy, who, along with other cartels, has been paying a percentage to the CIA in exchange for assistance in smuggling goods across borders. Just as they're digesting this revelation, Quince's hit squad storms the garage. A chaotic firefight ensues, but Bobby, Stig, and Deb manage to escape. Poppy also makes it out and quickly calls his crew for backup. Bobby starts to suspect Deb's involvement, puzzled about how the hit squad knew the location of her garage. Before they can resolve this issue, all three are captured by Poppy's men and taken to his farm in Mexico. Once there, Stig and Bobby are subjected to a brutal beating. Under pressure, Stig spills that the stolen money is stashed at a naval base. Earl pays Poppy a visit and instructs him to increase his share. After Earl leaves, Poppy decides he wants to keep all the money for himself. He tasks Stig and Bobby with recovering the funds, threatening to kill Deb if they fail. Equipped with a new mission, Stig and Bobby steal a van and infiltrate the naval base. On the way, Stig recounts how he met Quince at a hotel where he learned about the money's ultimate destination. Bobby suddenly recognizes the hotel name. It's the same place where he had met Deb, who said she was going there to meet her boyfriend. Upon reaching the base, Stig drops Bobby off at Quince's office while he heads to see the top officer, Admiral Toei. Stig lays all his cards on the table, only for the Admiral to inform him that he had never been officially assigned such a mission by the Navy. Realizing he's been played by Quince from the start, Stig requests the Admiral's help. Although the Admiral declines to assist, he does protect Stig and orders Quince's arrest. Meanwhile, Bobby confronts Quince and discovers that he is actually Deb's boyfriend. Quince opens his safe to reveal that the money isn't there. leading Bobby to the unsettling realization that Deb might be the one hiding it. With each unraveling thread, the stakes continue to escalate. The tension rises at the naval base as they try to capture Bobby. Thinking on his feet, Bobby swipes a naval officer's uniform and puts it on to blend in. To create a diversion, he sets off an explosion, taking advantage of the ensuing chaos to make his way out undetected. Soon after, Poppy calls Bobby to ask about the money, although Deb insists that it's impossible to find. Trying to protect her, Bobby lies and tells Poppy he has the money. This doesn't save Deb. Poppy shoots her. A devastated Bobby returns home to find Deb's lifeless body. That's when it hits him where the money must be. He rushes to the motel where they'd spent time together and, sure enough, finds the money hidden under the mattress. Meanwhile, Stig is out for revenge and arrives at Poppy's farm. Just as he gets there, Quince shows up. Poppy and Quince decide they're going to split the money and kill Stig, but then, in comes Earl, demanding his money back. Before they can discover that Stig doesn't actually have it, Bobby rolls in driving, with all the money in the trunk. He hands the car key to Earl, but then makes a dramatic move. He blows up the car. A wild shootout breaks out. Amidst the crossfire, Earl divulges that the CIA has multiple secret banks and that the lost money is not a big deal for them. Stig then takes his shot and kills Earl. Bobby turns his gun on Quince and eliminates him as well. Together, they take down Poppy. The duo make their getaway, but before they do, Bobby shoots Stig in the leg, calling it payback for the desert incident. As they contemplate their next move to expose the CIA's secret financial networks and stop their covert operations, Bobby drops one final bombshell on Stig. He didn't actually blow up all the money. The revelation hangs in the air as the movie comes to a suspenseful close.